I just thought we had the phones go off, but no sirens. When the sirens go off, then you got to start thinking that it
Yeah,
might be
then
something.
it's really bad.
Yeah.
On Monday when that storm came through here, we had some hail.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, I hate hail.
So we all went outside and watched the grass turn from green to white.
Oh, really? It was that much?
Well, it
Wow.
didn't last very long.
Yeah. The other morning, Monday morning, the frost was so thick here, it looked like it snowed. The grass, it was just white with frost. I'm like, that's snow or frost? It was frost, but it looked like snow.
My son, he went and we have this little dog. He went and put him outside and he came back to the door and then he went out there and he was out there in that rain. He got soaked
Oh,
running
goodness.
around the rain.
oh.
I told him, I says, well, he's going to have to dry off before he comes back inside.
Yeah, that's for sure. Wonder what happened to Marty tonight.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was muted. You guys can see the screen that I've shared.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you see anything else or do you just see that screen?
And
Just
we
the
see
screen.
you on the side. Yeah, just
Okay, but you don't see like the YouTube channel?
No.
Because
No,
I was putting that on and I'm trying to figure out how this thing works because, okay, and if I do this, do you see anything?
No.
no, nothing.
Okay,
same thing.
Okay, good. That means if somebody comes in, I can go ahead and bring them in because you don't see it. Because
Yeah.
there's a little box in front of mine.
Oh,
So
okay. No, we don't.
watching it. Okay. All right. Well, I think we are
You're on.
Ready to
eight
start?
and whoops.
Oops, now you lost it. There you go.
All right.
Ready to rock?
You ready?
Okay, let's pray.
Okay.
Blessed are you, Yahuwah Elohim, creator of the universe. Thank you for this day, for the many blessings, for keeping us safe, for being with us. Be with those who aren't here, especially with Violet and Carol. Continue to draw close to them and help them as they go through this time of their life. And help us to learn something about remedies tonight. In Yahushua's name we pray. Amen.
Okay. And real quick, since you
Okay.
mentioned that, I also talked to Carol, and the
Uh,
poor has a hard time texting. And she texted that again, I was confused where she was. She finally said she was in the hospital for about 3 days, I think.
so,
But back at the rehab place, and I tried to find out why she was there. Was it because you were weak? And she said no wet or something, which I know that's not what she meant. So anyway, keep her in prayer because she's
well,
still in and out too, having trouble.
well, okay, chapter 29, the use of remedies to alleviate pain and restore health. It is not a denial of faith to use such remedies as Yahuwah has provided to alleviate pain and to aid nature in her work of restoration. It is no denial of faith for the sick who request prayer for healing to cooperate with Yahuwah and place themselves in the condition most favorable to recovery. Yahuwah has put it in our power to obtain knowledge of the laws of life. This knowledge has been placed within our reach for use. We should employ every facility for the restoration of health, taking every advantage possible, working in harmony with natural laws. The idea which you hold that no remedy should be used for the sick is an error. Yahuwah does not heal the sick without the aid of the means of healing, which lie within the reach of man, or when men refuse to be benefited by the simple remedies that Yahuwah has provided in pure air and water. There were physicians in Messiah's day and in the days of the apostles. Luke is called the beloved physician. He trusted in Yahuwah to make him skillful in the application of remedies. When Yahuwah told Hezekiah that he would spare his life for 15 years, and as a sign that he would fulfill his promise, caused the sun to go back 10 degrees, why did he not put his direct restoring power upon the king? He told him to apply a bunch of figs to his sore, and that natural remedy, blessed by Yahuwah, healed him. The Elohim of nature directs the human agent to use natural remedies now. I might go to any length in this matter, my brother, but I leave it now with a few instances. Then follow the accounts of 2 instances of the use of charcoal. All these
Great
things,
stuff.
oh yeah, great
Great
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
All these things teach us that we are to be very careful lest we receive radical ideas and impressions. You're right. Your ideas regarding drug medication I must respect. But even in this, you must not always let the patients know that you discard drugs entirely until they become intelligent on the subject. You often place yourself in positions where you hurt your influence and do no one any good by expressing all your convictions. Thus, you cut yourself away from the people. You should modify your strong prejudices. There are many ways of practicing the healing art, but there is only one way that heaven approves. Yahuwah's remedies are the simple agencies of nature that will not tax or debilitate the system through their powerful properties. Pure air and water, cleanliness, a proper diet, purity of life, and a firm trust in Yahuwah are remedies for the want of which thousands are dying. Yet these remedies are going out of date because their skillful use requires work that the people do not appreciate. Fresh air, exercise, pure water, and clean, sweet premises are within the reach of all with but little expense. But drugs are expensive, both in the outlay of means and in the effect produced upon the system. Nature will want some assistance to bring things to their proper condition, which may be found in the simplest remedies, especially in the use of nature's own furnished remedies, pure air and with a precious knowledge of how to breathe, pure water with a knowledge of how to apply it, plenty of sunlight in every room in the house if possible, and with an intelligent knowledge of what advantages are to be gained by its use. All these are powerful in their efficacy and the patient efficiency, and the patient who has obtained a knowledge of how to eat and dress healthfully may live for comfort, for peace, for health, and will not be prevailed upon to put to his lips drugs, which in the place of helping nature paralyzes her powers. If the sick and suffering will do only as well as they know in regard to living out the principles of health reform perseveringly, then they will, in 9 cases out of 10, recover from their ailments. Yahuwah has taught us that great efficacy
Good.
for healing lies in a proper use of water. These treatments should be given skillfully. We have been instructed that in our treatment of the sick, we should discard the use of drugs. There are simple herbs that can be used for the recovery of the sick, whose effect upon the system is very different from that of those drugs that poison the blood and endanger life. Messiah never planted the seeds of death in the system. Satan planted these seeds when he tempted Adam to eat of the tree of knowledge, which meant disobedience to Yahuwah. Not one noxious plant was placed in Yahuwah's great garden, but after Adam and Eve sinned, poisonous herbs sprang up. In the parable of the sower, the question was asked the master, "Did not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares?" The master answered, "An enemy has done this. All tares are sown by the evil one. Every noxious herb is of his sowing, and by his ingenious methods of amalgamation, he has corrupted the earth with tares. Then shall physicians continue to resort to drugs, which leave a deadly evil in the system, destroying that life which Messiah came to restore. Messiah's remedies cleanse the system, but Satan has tempted man to introduce into the system that which weakens the human machinery, clogging and destroying the fine, beautiful arrangements of Yahuwah. The drugs administered to the sick do not restore but destroy. Drugs never cure. Instead, they place in the system seeds which bear a very bitter harvest. Our Savior is the restorer of the moral image of Yahuwah in man. He has supplied in the natural world remedies for the ills of man, that his followers may have life and that they may have it more abundantly. We can with safety discard the concoctions which man has used in the past. It is an interesting fact that as a result of 20th century, I'm reading footnote,
Oh.
the 20th century medical research, physicians have largely discarded most of the medications in common use at the time referred to in this statement. The Lord has provided antidotes for diseases in simple plants. It is to be observed that a large proportion of the prescriptions written by the physicians of today call for ingredients taken from the vegetable kingdom, most of which are non-poisonous. And these can be used by faith with no denial of faith. For by using the blessings provided by Yahuwah for our benefit, we are cooperating with him. He can use water and sunshine and the herbs which he has caused to grow in healing maladies brought on by indiscretion or accident. We do not manifest a lack of faith when we ask Yahuwah to bless his remedies. True faith will thank Yahuwah for the knowledge of how to use these precious blessings in a way which will restore mental and physical vigor. The body is to be carefully cared for, and in this, Yahuwah demands the cooperation of the human agent. Man must become intelligent in regard to the treatment and use of brain, bone, and muscle. The very best experience we can gain is to know ourselves. Your question is, in urgent cases, should we call in a worldly physician? Because the sanitarium doctors are all so busy that they have no time to devote to outside practice. If the physicians are so busy that they cannot treat the sick outside of the institution, would it not be wiser for all to educate themselves in the use of simple remedies than to venture to use drugs that are given a long name to hide their real qualities? Why need anyone be ignorant of Yahuwah's remedies? Hot water fomentations and cold and hot compresses. It is important to become familiar with the benefit of dieting in the case of sickness. All should understand what to do for themselves. They may call upon someone who understands nursing, but everyone should have an intelligent knowledge of the house he lives in. All should understand what to do in the case of sickness. Were I sick, I would just as soon call in a lawyer as a physician from among general practitioners. Whoa, this is a long subnote. Mrs. White is here referring to the general practitioner of 1897 in the backwoods of Australia, where she penned these words. The reader must keep in mind that until the second decade of the 20th century, physician training was largely unregulated and was often meager. In many instances, it was on an apprentice basis, supplemented at best by short periods of training and more or less orthodox medical school. The medical profession was without well-established standards. The mainstay in the medications of the ordinary doctor was poisonous drugs, often prescribed in large doses.
Okay.
Yep.
The following facts show clearly that Mrs. White's statements should not be used to depreciate the labors of the carefully trained, conscientious physician. Her many statements relative to the high calling and weighty responsibilities of the physician. Her practice of consulting qualified physicians, as attested by the published record and by those who were members of her family. Her counsel to an associate worker who was ill to let the physicians do those things for her that must be done, and urging her to eat because your earthly physician would have you eat. Her many counsels addressed to practicing physicians presented in the Ministry of Healing, Counsels on Health, and Medical Ministry. The guidance from her pen in the establishment of a Seventh-day Adventist medical college at Loma Linda, designed to provide a medical education that will enable its graduates to pass the examinations required by law of all those who practice as regularly qualified physicians.
I would not.
I would not touch their nostrums to which they give Latin names. I am determined to know in straight English the name of everything that I introduce into my system. Those who make a practice of taking drugs sin against their intelligence and endanger their whole afterlife. There are herbs that are harmless, the use of which will tide over many apparently serious difficulties. But if all would seek to become intelligent in regard to their bodily necessities, sickness would be rare instead of common. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Simple remedies in the sanitarium program. I have received much instructions regarding the location of sanitariums. They should be a few miles distant from the large cities, and land should be secured in connection with them. Fruit and vegetables should be cultivated, and the patients should be encouraged to take up outdoor work. Many who are suffering from pulmonary disease might be cured if they would live in a climate where they could be out of doors most of the year. Many who have died of consumption might have lived if they had breathed more pure air. Fresh outdoor air is as healing as medicine and leaves no injurious after effects. It would have been better if from the first all drugs had been kept out of the sanitariums and use had been made of such simple remedies as are found in pure water, pure air, sunlight, and some of the simplest herbs growing in the field. These would be just as efficacious as the drugs used under mysterious names and concocted by human science, and they would leave no injurious effects in the system. Thousands who are afflicted might recover their health if, instead of depending upon the drugstore for their life, they would discard all drugs and live simply without using tea, coffee, liquor, or spice, which irritate the stomach and leave it weak, unable to digest even simple food without stimulation. Yahuwah is willing to let his light shine forth in clear, distinct rays to all who are weak and feeble. Chapter 30, Ellen G. White's use of remedial agencies. Okay, Ellen G. White speaks repeatedly of simple remedies. She tells us specifically what she means when she thus speaks, naming pure air, sunlight, abstention, extemporaneous rest, exercise, proper diet, the use of water, and trust in divine power, and the ministry of healing. In addition to these, Mrs. White, on a few occasions in her personal correspondence, made reference to certain simple medications she knew and used. Any such remedy was usually mentioned in a single instance only. She also refers in her correspondence to a few rare emergency situations that led her to employ remedies she would not use except in a crisis. In evaluating these references to certain medications, 4 points should be observed by the reader. The following pages list the significant statements in which Mrs. White mentions specific medications of a simple character, insofar as such statements were known at the time this compilation was made. A very few pages are required to place these statements in print. Some 11 pages as compared with the more than 2,000 pages devoted to the comprehensive presentation of the health councils as found in the E.G. White books. For 50 years, Mrs. White wrote extensively for publication on the subject of health and the care of the sick. But it is interesting and significant fact that, except for the brief mention of the lump of figs for Hezekiah's boils, and a fleeting allusion to the ineffectual use of simple herbs in the illness of one of her sons, she made no reference to the medicinal use of herbs or to other specific simple medications in any of her published statements. To say the least, this fact does not permit the conclusion that the use of herbs is the prime importance in the whole health program that she set forth in such completeness. Mrs. White nowhere states in discussing such simple medications that other and more effective medications might not later be found. Owing to impressions held by some that Mrs. White's writings not only endorse herbs, but feature them as the principal means for dealing with disease, and that there is a great abundance of unpublished material on this point, the White trustees believed that the minds of Seventh-day Adventists will be helped, and the record best be kept clear by printing the statement that follows. In all fairness, the reader should not attach to these statements greater significance than did the author, who in her published works placed before the general public the broad principles to be followed in the treatment of the sick. After seeing so much harm done by the administering of drugs, I cannot use them and cannot testify in their favor. I must be true to the light given me by Yahuwah. The treatment we gave when the sanitarium was first established required earnest labor to combat disease. We did not use drug concoctions. We followed hygienic methods. This work was blessed by Yahuwah. It was a work in which the human instrumentality could cooperate with Yahuwah in saving life. There should be nothing put into the human system that would leave its baneful influence behind. And to carry out the light on the subject, to practice hygienic treatment, and to educate on altogether different lines of treating the sick was the reason given me why we should have sanitarians established in various localities. I have been pained when many students have been encouraged to go to a state-operated medical college to which a number of our early medical workers were sent to complete their training, to receive an education in the use of drugs. The light which I have received has placed an altogether different complexion on the use made of drugs than is given at the sanitarium. We must become enlightened on these subjects. The intricate names given the medicines are used to cover up the matter so that none will know what is given them as remedies unless they obtain a dictionary to find out the meaning of these names. So true. Even then, you can't figure them out. Yahuwah has given some simple herbs of the field that at times are beneficial. And if every family were educated in how to use these herbs in the case of sickness, much suffering might be prevented, and no doctor need be called. These old-fashioned simple herbs, used intelligently, would have recovered many sick who have died under drug medication. One of the most beneficial remedies is pulverized charcoal. I'll guarantee that one. Placed in a bag and used in fomentation. This is the most successful remedy. If wet in smart weed boiled, it is still better. I have ordered this in cases where the sick were suffering great pain, and when it has been confided to me by the physician that he thought it was the last before the close of life, then I suggested the charcoal. It is of interest to observe in connection with the several E.G. White statements concerning the value of charcoal, that as well as being a product of frequent medical prescription, a 1,160-page professional work, advises as an antidote for many known poisons and for all poisonous substances of unknown ingredients, a universal antidote of 4 parts, 2 of which are activated charcoal. And the patient slept, the turning point came, and recovery was the result. To students, when injured with bruised hands and suffering with inflammation, I have prescribed this simple remedy with perfect success. The poison of inflammation was overcome, the pain removed, and healing went on rapidly. The most severe inflammation on the eyes would be relieved by a poultice of charcoal, put in a bag and dipped in hot or cold water, as will best suit the case. This works like a charm. I expect you will laugh at this, but if I could give this remedy some outlandish name that no one knew but myself, it would have greater influence, yep. But the simplest remedies may assist nature and leave no baleful effects after their use. Oh, I agree, charcoal is great, especially if you got an upset stomach, take it. It'll either make you throw up or calm it down. Okay, Keith.
There are many simple herbs which, if our nurses would learn the value of, they could use in the place of drugs and find very effective. Many times I have been applied to for advice as to what should be done in cases of sickness or accident. And I have mentioned some of these simple remedies, and they have proved helpful. On one occasion, a physician came to me in great distress. He had been called to attend a young woman who was dangerously ill. She had contracted fever while on the campground and was taken to our school building near Melbourne, Australia. But she became so much worse that it was feared she could not live. The physician, Dr. Merritt Kellogg, came to me and said, Sister White, have you any light for me in this case? If relief cannot be given our sister, she can live but a few hours, I replied. Send to a blacksmith shop and get some pulverized charcoal. Make it a poultice of it and lay it over her stomach and sides. The doctor hastened away to follow out my instructions. Soon he returned saying relief came in less than half an hour after the application of the poultice. She was now having her first natural sleep she has had for days. I have ordered the same treatment for others who were suffering great pain, and it has brought relief and been the means of saving life. My mother had told me that snake bites and the sting of reptiles and poisonous insects can often be rendered harmless by the use of charcoal poultice.
Poultices.
When working on the land of Avondale, Australia, the workmen would often bruise their hands and limbs, and thus in many cases resulted in such severe inflammation that the worker would have to leave his work for some time. One came to me one day in this condition and his hands tied in a sling. He was much troubled over the circumstance, for this help was needed in cleaning the land. I said to him, go to the place where you have been burning the timber and get me some charcoal from the eucalyptus tree. Pulverize it and I will dress your hand. This was done, and the next morning he reported that the pain was gone. Soon he was ready to return to his work. I write these things that you may know that the Lord has not left us without the use of simple remedies, which when used will not leave the system in the weakened condition in which the use of drugs so often leaves it. We need well-trained nurses who can understand how to use the simple remedies that nature provides for restoration to health, and who can teach these who are ignorant of the laws of health how to use these simple but effective cures. He who created men and women has an interest in those who suffer. He has directed in the establishment of our sanitariums and in the building up of the schools close to our sanitariums, that they may become efficient mediums in training men and women for the work of ministering to suffering humanity in the treatment of the sick. Poisonous drugs need not be used. Alcohol and tobacco in any form must not be recommended, lest some soul be led to imbibe a taste for these evil things. I guess that's getting used to them.
Yep.
It's a word that I don't think they use anymore. Safe, simple remedies. In regard to that which we can do for ourselves, there is a point that requires careful, thoughtful consideration. I must become acquainted with myself. I must be a learner always as to how to take care of this building, the body God has given me, that I may preserve it in the very best condition of health. I must eat those things which will be for my very best good physically, and I must take special care to have my clothing such as will conduce to a healthful circulation of the blood. I must not deprive myself of exercise and air. I must get all the sunlight that it is possible for me to obtain. I must have wisdom to be a faithful guardian of my body. I should do a very unwise thing to enter a cool room when in a perspiration. I should show myself an unwise steward to allow myself to sit in a draught and to expose myself so as to take cold. I should be unwise to sit with cold feet and limbs and thus drive back the blood from the extremities to the brain or internal organs. I should always protect my feet in damp weather. I should eat regularly of the most healthful food, which will make the best quality of blood, and should not work intemperately if it is in my power to avoid doing so. And when I violate the laws God has established in my being, I am to repent and reform and place myself in the most favorable condition under the doctors God has provided, pure air, pure water, and the healing precious sunlight. Water can be used in many ways to relieve suffering. Draughts of clear hot water taken before eating, which is a half a quart more or less, will never do any harm, but will whether that be productive or of good. A cup of tea made from catnip herb will quiet the nerves. Hot tea will induce sleep. Hot poultices over the stomach will relieve pain. If the eyes are weak, if there is pain in the eyes or inflammation, soft flannel cloths wet in hot water and salt will bring relief quickly. When the head is congested and the feet and limbs are put in a bath with a little mustard, relief will be attained. There are many more simple remedies which will do much more to restore healthful action to the body. All these simple preparations the Lord expects us to use for ourselves, but man's extremities are God's opportunities. If we neglect to do that which is within the reach of nearly every family and ask the Lord to relieve pain when we are too indolent to make use of these remedies within our power, it is simply presumption. The Lord expects us to work in order that we may obtain food. He does not propose that we shall gather the harvest unless we break the sod, till the soil, and cultivate the produce. Then God sends the rain and the sunshine and the clouds to cause vegetation to flourish. God works and man cooperates with God. Then there is seed time and harvest. God has caused to grow out of the ground herbs for the use of man, and if we understand the nature of these roots and herbs and make a right use of them, there will not be a necessity of running to the doctor so frequently, and people would be in much better health than they are today. I believe in calling upon the great physician when we have used the remedies I have mentioned. Counsel to the medical director of a new sanitarium. Do all that you possibly can to perfect the institution inside and out. Be sure that your premises are in the best of order. Let there be nothing about them that will make a disagreeable impression of the minds of the patients. Encourage the patients to live healthfully and to take an abundance of exercise. This will do much to restore them to health. Let seats be placed under the shade of the tree, that the patients may be encouraged to spend much time out of doors. And a place should be provided, enclosed either with a canvas or with glass, where in cooler weather the patients can sit in the sun without feeling the wind. Fresh air and sunshine, cheerfulness within and without the institution, pleasant words and kindly acts. These are the remedies that the sick need, and God will crown with success your efforts to provide these remedies for the sick ones who come to the sanitarium by happiness and cheerfulness and expressions of sympathy and hopefulness for others. Your own soul will be filled with light and peace. And never forget that the sunshine of God's blessing is worth everything to us. Teach nurses and patients the value of those health restoring agencies that are freely provided by God, and the usefulness of simple things that are easily obtained. I will tell you a little about my experience with the charcoal as a remedy. For some forms of indigestion, it is more efficacious than drugs. A little olive oil into which some of this powder has been stirred tends to cleanse and heal. I find it is excellent. Pulverized charcoal from the eucalyptus wood we have used freely in cases of inflammation. Always study and teach the use of simplest remedies, and the special blessing of the Lord may be expected to follow the use of these means which are within the reach of the common people.
Okay, Sandy.
Okay, hang on just a second, real quick. Whoops, just a second. Okay, sorry. Had a phone call from Marty. She was trying but couldn't get her Zoom on. Other experiences with charcoal. And this is fascinating with charcoal, and I like the way it says eucalyptus trees. Remember
Yeah.
all the eucalyptus trees we had?
Well,
I should say. Anyway, a rapid recovery. A brother was taken sick with inflammation of the bowels and bloody dysentery. The man was not a careful health reformer, but indulged his appetite. We were just preparing to leave Texas when we had been laboring for several months, and we had carriages prepared to take away this brother and his family, and several others who were suffering from malarial fever. My husband and I thought we would stand this expense rather than have the heads of several families die and leave their wives and children unprovided for. 2 or 3 were taken in large spring wagon on spring mattresses. But this man who was suffering from inflammation of the bowels sent for me to come to him. My husband and I decided that it would not do to move him. Fears were entertained that mortification had set in. Then the thought came to me like a communication from the Lord to take pulverized charcoal, put water upon it, and give this water to the sick man to drink, putting bandages of the charcoal over the bowels and stomach. We were about 1 mile from the city of Denison, but the sick man's son went to the blacksmith shop, secured the charcoal and pulverized it, and then we used it according to the directions given. The result was that in half an hour, there was a change for the better. We had to go on our journey and leave the family behind, but that was our surprise the following day to see their wagon overtake us. The sick man was lying in a bed in the wagon. The blessing of God had worked with the simple means used. Wow. Charcoal and flaxseed. We need a hospital so much. On Thursday, Sister Sarah McInturfer, a trained nurse of experience, well qualified for this type of service, who accompanied Mrs. White and assisted her both as a traveling companion and private secretary. Was called, okay, so Mrs. McIntyre, okay, was called to see if she could do anything for Brother B's little son, who is 18 months old. For several days, he has had painful swelling on the knee. supposed to be from the bite of some poisonous insect. Pulverized charcoal mixed with flaxseed was placed upon the swelling, and this poultice gave relief at once. The child had screamed with pain all night, but when this was applied, he slept. Today she has been to see the little one twice. She opened the swelling in 2 places, and a large amount of yellow matter and blood was discharged freely. The child was relieved of its great suffering. We thank the Lord that we may become intelligent in using the simple things within our reach to alleviate pain and successfully remove its cause.
The flaxseed mixed with charcoal makes it thicker because charcoal and water is kind of thin.
I wonder if chia seeds would work. Like flaxseed. I don't know.
They might, yeah.
But it
So-
sounds like it works like a reverse osmosis to bring out the toxins out to the skin.
Oh, yeah, charcoal's great. We use it a lot.
Okay, a poultice of figs for Hezekiah. When Hezekiah was sick, the prophet of God brought him the message that he should die. The king cried to the Lord, and the Lord heard him and sent the promise that 15 years should be added to his life. One word from God, one touch of the divine finger, would have been enough to cure Hezekiah instantly. But instead, he was given directions to make a poultice of figs and lay it upon the part affected. This was done, and Hezekiah was restored to health. It would be well to treasure this prescription which the Lord offered to be used more than we do. The value of eucalyptus oil. I am very sorry to learn that Sister C is not well. I cannot advise any remedy for her cough better than eucalyptus and honey. Into a tumbler of honey, put a few drops of the eucalyptus, stir it up well, and take whenever the cough comes on. I have had considerable trouble with my throat, but whenever I use this, I overcome the difficulty very quickly. I have to use it only a few times and the cough is removed. If you will use this prescription, you may be your own physician. If the first trial does not effect a cure, try it again. The best time to take it is before retiring. I have already told you the remedy I use when suffering from difficulties with my throat. I take a glass of boiled honey, and into this I put a few drops of eucalyptus oil. Stir it well. When the cough comes on, I take a teaspoonful of this mixture, and relief comes almost immediately. I have always used this with the best of results. I ask you to use the same remedy when you are troubled with the cough. This prescription may seem so simple that you feel no confidence in it, but I have tried it for a number of years and can highly recommend it.
Anybody
This is
have
on
idea
here.
why? Any idea
Agreed.
why it's supposed to be boiled honey?
Maybe it gets rid of the germs that why you can't give it to babies. I don't know.
I don't know. I just thought
Maybe
that.
maybe boiled, it just means that it makes it liquid.
Liquid, yeah, it'll be
Oh,
liquid, that's for
That,
sure.
yeah, that maybe that's it. Yeah.
And you can stir the drops in, and it says a glass. So I don't know, maybe a half a cup or something. I don't know. And a
Yeah.
few drops of eucalyptus oil. I don't know. Okay. Again, take warm foot baths into which have been put the leaves from the eucalyptus tree. There is great virtue in these leaves, and if you will try this, you will prove my words to be true. The oil of the eucalyptus is especially beneficial in cases of cough and pains in the chest and lungs. I want you to make a trial of this remedy, which is so simple and which costs you nothing. So that's, you take water and put eucalyptus leaves in it. That's boiled water too, or would have to be to make the oils come out of the leaves?
Yeah, probably. Or just get eucalyptus oil,
Yeah,
essential oil. I have
Oh.
that.
do you?
Okay.
I'm sorry, well,
Pretty sure.
Trees with medicinal properties. The Lord has given me light in regard to many things. He has shown me that our sanitariums could be erected on as high an elevation as is necessary to secure the best results, and that they are to be surrounded by extensive tracts of land beautified by flowers and ornamental trees. In a certain place, preparations were being made to clear the land for the erection of a sanitarium. Light was given that there is health in the fragrance of the pine, the cedar, and the fir. And there are several other kinds of trees that have medicinal properties that are health promoting. Let not such trees be ruthlessly cut down. Let them live. My herb drink. We need not go to China for our tea or to Java for our coffee. Some have said Sister White uses tea she keeps in her house, and that has placed it before them to drink. They have not told the truth because I do not use it, neither do I keep it in my house. Once when crossing the waters, I was sick and could retain nothing on my stomach, and I did take a little weak tea as a medicine. But I don't want any of you again to make the remark that Sister White uses tea. If you will come to my house, I will show you the bag that contains my herb drink. I send to Michigan across the mountains and get the red clover top. In regard to coffee, I never could drink it, so those who report that Sister White drinks coffee made a mistake.
That's funny.
Clover blossoms, first crop. I have a request to make. Will these children please gather me as much clover or even more than they did last year? If they can do this, they will do me a great favor. I cannot do it here. We have no clover on our ground. The first crop is preferable, but if this comes too late, the second crop had better be secured. That was to a family in Michigan.
So our first
Tea
crop of
used-
clover we need to get.
Well, we don't get that much clover. We used to get a lot of clover. I had big,
Yeah.
containers of clover tea for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not regular clover like you get in your grass.
Well, it's red clover.
Yeah, it is.
It is, yeah.
Red clover. Yeah.
There's red clover and white clover. She
Yeah.
said use the red clover.
Yeah. Tea used as a medicine and not as a beverage. I do not use tea either green or black. Not a spoonful has passed my lips for many years, except when crossing the ocean, and once since the side I took it as a medicine when I was sick and vomiting. In such circumstances, it may prove a present relief. I did not use tea when you were with us. I have always used red clover top. As I stated to you, I offered you this and told you it was a good, simple, and wholesome drink. When she says that about tea, I think she's talking about like black tea.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
She's not talking
As-
about herbal tea. She's talking
Yeah.
about the black and the green.
Agreed, yeah.
Yeah.
And I have not bought a penny's worth of tea for years. Knowing its influence, I would not dare to use it except in cases of severe vomiting when I take it as a medicine and not as a beverage. I do not preach one thing and practice another. I do not present to my hearers rules of life for them to follow while I make exception in my own case. I am not guilty of drinking any tea except red clover top tea, and if I loved wine, tea, and coffee, I would not use these healthy destroying narcotics, for I prize health and I prize a healthful example in all these things. I want to be a pattern of temperance and of good works to others. Coffee is medicine. I have not knowingly drunk a cup of genuine coffee for 20 years. Only as I stated during my sickness for a medicine, I drank a cup of coffee, very strong, with a raw egg broken into it. Okay. Grape juice and eggs. I have received light that you are injuring your body by a poverty-stricken diet. It is the lack of suitable food that has caused you to suffer so keenly. You have not taken the food essential to nourish your frail physical strength. You must not deny yourself of good, wholesome food. Get eggs of healthy fowls. Use these eggs cooked or raw. Drop them uncooked into the best unfermented wine you can find, I guess grape juice. This will supply that which is necessary to your system. Eggs contain properties which are remedial agencies in counteracting poisons.
That
Okay,
saved
you
Barb's
timed
life
up.
once.
And it did. Eggs and grape juice saved my life. My blood was so low, I couldn't even think. And natural doctor told me to put raw eggs in good grape juice. And in a day or two, I was back to normal.
Wow. I
Yeah.
know molasses is full of iron and good for the blood too.
Yeah, I was.
You can
taking
mix
some
that
of
She
with-
did that too, but the eggs and the grape juice really brought her back quick. And she
Yeah.
was, as my one daughter said, she was on death's doorstep.
And
She had lost so much blood.
you let the egg sit in the grape juice a couple of minutes before you drink it.
We
The
used
raw
to
egg,
get,
mix it up.
Yeah, then you stir it, mix it in, and then drink it.
when we had the farm, when I was a little kid, they had this tub out there for the cows that have molasses in it. It has a wheel on it, and they go and lick this wheel, the molasses on that wheel.
Wow.
I
That's
guess that was for the iron. I guess it was good for the cows, but not for us.
They still sell molasses blocks, like 50-pound blocks, to put
Yeah.
out in your field for the cows.
Wow. Okay. Blood transfusions. There is one
Okay,
thing.
time's up. Unless you want to keep reading, but that's why I stopped you there.
Well, why don't we go back down to finish this chapter? It's
Yeah, I
this
just looked
page.
ahead. Yeah, why don't you finish the chapter?
Blood transfusions. There is one thing that has saved my life, an infusion of blood from one person to another, but this would be difficult and perhaps impossible for you to do. I merely suggest it. Vaccination,
Here we go.
vaccination for smallpox. You asked for definite and concise information regarding what Sister White wrote about vaccination and serum. This question can be answered very briefly, for so far as we have any record, she did not refer to them in any of her writings. You will be interested to know, however, that at a time when there was an epidemic of smallpox in the vicinity, she herself was vaccinated and urged her helpers, those connected with her, to be vaccinated. In taking this step, Sister White recognized the fact that it had been proven that vaccination either renders one immune from smallpox or greatly lightens its effects if one does come down with it. She also recognized the danger of their exposing others if they fail to take this precaution, which I agree with.
This
And
was debunked. This was
isn't that
debunked. Yeah,
isn't that made the big mark on your arm?
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
this
We all had-
vaccinate, she
Oh, no,
was
that
never,
polio.
yeah. She was never vaccinated. I remember during COVID, they found out that this is what D.E. Robinson said, but it found out that she recommended vaccinations for her son and some other people, but there's no record of her ever being vaccinated. This is the only reference ever in any of her writings. It's not
Well,
in
and
her writings.
That's fine, but I'm
Yeah.
not, it's, doing it back then for smallpox was completely different than what they were
Some
doing
of-
recently.
Yeah.
So X-ray treatment at Loma Linda. For several weeks, I took treatment with the X-ray for the black spot that was on my forehead. In all, I took 23 treatments, and these succeeded in entirely removing the mark. For this, I am very grateful.
Huh,
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's
So,
crazy.
yeah.
Get x-rayed for her spots.
Yeah,
Eight
the
spots.
the X-ray that they used back then was not safe.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That was a killer. Wow.
Because it was a lot powerful than the X-ray that they use today.
Hmm,
But now you get x-rays for everything.
yeah.
oh,
Interesting.
all
Oh,
right.
the
Well,
next-
that was,
The next
That was-
chapter is for Keith,
Why?
treating pneumonia.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
All
I've
right,
had
that was
numerous
interesting.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was good.
Well, definitely everybody should have a big bag of charcoal in their house.
I do.
Yeah.
I have it, I just don't know how you take it.
If you're upset stomach, just put some in water, stir it up and drink it. It'll either
how
calm
much?
you, it'll either
It's
calm you.
also, you can overtake it, so how do you know how much?
No, you
No,
can't
you
overtake
can't
it.
overtake charcoal.
Just because it comes out the other end.
Well, I know-
You just get
It
black
can-
poo.
It
Yeah.
can constipate and do
It-
things. Yes, you can
the-
overdo.
In
I
the
just don't-
emergency room, we use that charcoal. She mentioned the name in there,
For
the type of
poison.
charcoal.
Yeah,
But we give it to
Pulverized.
people that overdose,
yeah,
Yeah.
and we put it in the stomach because what it does, it prevents the medicine from being absorbed into the body.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. it
And then you
sucks
put
it
the,
out.
there's the other stuff that goes with the charcoal that makes it go through real quick.
Mm,
Yeah.
About 20 minutes later, they start having diarrhea, and it's a
And
mess.
Obviously, she used a lot of charcoal poultices
Yeah.
externally to draw
Yeah.
things again out of the body. It draws stuff out. That's what charcoal does.
I have a
And
funny,
clay, I love using clay. I haven't in years, but I
oh,
have some
yeah,
pure clay and that works good too. And
Clay.
also to drink it. I used to love to drink it and it was just like the charcoal, but it takes all the bad stuff, but it leaves the good stuff behind. It's amazing.
yeah.
It's all that stuff's just amazing what God gave us and people just
You want an
Go-
education, go to that claydoc.com,
Yeah,
Tony Demarius's site.
he's,
He's the expert on clay that I know of.
yeah. it's
He's
really
got clay and stuff for everything,
yeah,
and different herbal
It-
tinctures
good.
and
Clay's a great healer.
yep, it is.
Yeah.
the
All right,
green clay, is that what it was? Was it green clay he used to get or
Mhm.
get?
Yeah.
Something
And Ben
like
tonight,
that.
living clay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's good.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. We use a lot of clay and charcoal here.
But as long as it doesn't take the good things and make you lose your electrolytes, but I guess it doesn't. So it's amazing how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
All right.
usually mix a teaspoon of it in water and drink it if you're upset stomach. And then it'll either calm it or it'll help you to throw up what's bothering you.
Like
Okay,
you-
so a
Like
teaspoon.
Keith said, it's
Yeah, about a
used in
teaspoon.
hospitals almost exclusively.
I have a funny story about when I had my appendicitis. I came home from work, really bad pain, and I thought, oh no, what? So I took some charcoal and drank it, and I was up all night with just all this pain. And I don't know, middle of the night or something, I took another teaspoon and drank it. Well, the next morning I ended up calling my doctor. She said, come in. Well, she put me in the hospital. I had appendicitis. They had to do an emergency surgery. And then the next morning, the nurses got all upset because some of my poo was coming out black from the charcoal. They were so worried and upset.
So
I'm
was
like,
was your appendix black and they thought it was burnt?
I
yeah,
don't know.
I said, it's okay. I took charcoal and they were just so upset and worried. It was so funny. I'm like, it's just charcoal. I know.
Well, when you have in the lower colon, when you have bleeding, it's red, but when it's high up toward your stomach, it's black when it comes out.
Mm,
Yeah, because it's older,
Yeah,
scary.
clotted.
that was
All right, guys. Well, we have Keith Sabbath.
oh,
Brent is actually doing a chapter 13.
are you serious?
He's continuing. I thought we were doing the book too.
And it's just so much and he doesn't want, he's like, no, I don't want it that big, but I think he's about done and we will get those chapters and then he's sending it another week, 2 weeks, week and a half or so. He's going to send it. He's editing in it and he's going to get it edited and send it for publication.
Mm.
So
So
It'll
this
be
for
ready.
sure is the last chapter. 'Cause he kept saying 12 was the last one.
Yep. He keeps finding things too, and I don't know. I think he gets little.
Well, that's like my wife when she takes
Something
pictures.
like,
One
oh,
more
yeah.
picture.
Uh-huh.
Okay, they take that one more picture. There's always one more picture, one more picture. There's
Yeah.
never just one more picture.
No.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
funny.
It'll be good, and it'll soon be done. And
Yeah.
so
Hey, did you ever figure out about the Africa satellite?
I'm still paying for it, but I don't know if there's really that many that watch over there because of what they did. The guy that said he is in Nigeria, the one that's on Facebook, and then somebody else from. So if anybody's listening over there right now and you happen to be in Africa and you were seeing it on the satellite, not YouTube, not internet, but on the satellite, please email and let us know because we're trying to figure out how many are really seeing it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
other ways to get the message out there, and if we get the funds for it, we can go on some kind of a TV, but a lot of them don't have electricity. They don't have money for a lot of things. So
Yeah.
I
But
know.
yeah, if it's not reaching many, it's worth it. Yeah.
That's right.
Because just like anywhere else in the world, they probably all have cell phones. So you could watch it on your cell phone.
Well, they don't have enough internet for that. They don't have strong enough internet. I mean, it's where some of them are. Some of them
Yeah.
are in good places, but I'm not getting anybody to answer. And Uh,
Huh.
I don't know,
Well,
but
if nobody answering, they might not be seeing it.
Yeah.
They might
Yeah.
not be.
Hey, have you
watching.
talked to Hyde at all?
yeah, and he's not on it because it's South Africa that I think they
Right.
stopped.
Oh, yeah.
But further, those people are supposedly still getting it.
Mm.
Well,
And
Hyde's,
I've written to
Hyde's not
the,
in a great position right now.
When
There-
is he ever having that surgery?
no, he's actually, he's doing much better and they've decided that right at the moment he doesn't need it. So he's
Well,
doing much better.
That's
And
good.
he's going to do, I think, 3 for us at Passover time on Zoom.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
we'll see, but he seems to be doing better, and he's just trying to help people because so many of them are just terribly poor.
Well, it's
Mm.
getting bad there. I mean, I don't know if you know, they kicked the ambassador out from here. South
Do what?
African, the South African ambassador to the US. The State Department sent him home.
He was so
He was so
nasty.
bad that they kicked him out of US. It's one of
Yeah.
the first things Rubio did. And
Yeah.
they said, even Trump mentioned it in one of his last speeches, he said, or press conferences, he said, things are bad in South Africa and it's getting worse. And we may put it on the travel ban
Yep.
that Americans can't go there. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
All right. Well, we see Chris at least joined us. He's probably listening. A picture the other day, and they're down in McCall and they were skiing. She has her time. They were down there with all the snow. They got these little tiny skis on, these little tiny boots. 3. So, and then Elijah's are small too, but Caleb's, he just standing there, looks so tiny. Those little
Well,
skis. I'm
teach
like,
them while he's young and they'll be good skiers.
Yeah.
yeah. And they were sledding, and of course, mom and dad are. They're big old huge skis, but
Yeah.
those little tiny were so cute.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
All right, Keith, you want, and Marty just called and she said she wasn't able to get on. Said the Zoom didn't work, so I'm not sure what that is, but
Well,
anyway,
I'm gonna try to go and see Violet in the morning
okay,
before my meeting.
all right. She will be very happy because
Yeah.
she said, I just love it when you call, in her little voice, but
Mm.
I don't know who else calls or what they do, and if you guys have the number, you should just call her. She would just love to hear your voice. You don't have to talk very long. You can just say hi and,
Do you
talk
have
loud.
Do you have her number handy?
Yeah, let me see. It's on oops, come on. It is
Send her a
on,
card.
Oh,
Oh,
look at
cute.
Oh, but
Oh,
where are they
wow.
at? They can't be in Dakota.
who? Oh, there they are. See the little tiny skis?
Yeah, where
Yeah.
are they skiing at?
It's McCall. I think they're down in McCall, Idaho.
Idaho, really? You got
Yep.
that much snow or they're making it?
Well, that's in McCall. That's like 3 hours from here, I think. So they're not too far, but
Oh,
are they learning, Chris? Are they enjoying it?
Yeah, Elijah went down the hill today. He got more confident by every run. Finally, he decided he wanted to go to the highest point and go all the way down through the skate park, all the way through the park, and go straight down, straight as fast as he can go, all the way down, all the hills and humps and everything, and
On
not
his
slowing down
skis?
at all.
On
Yeah,
his
yeah,
skis?
on his skis. Yeah,
Do you have little poles?
I didn't. No poles. No
yeah.
leashes. No poles. He just went by himself. I got a video of it. He was
Oh.
flying.
That's scary.
Well,
You hit
he
a
tried.
tree.
So can you see
he-
Canada from there, Chris?
Yeah, almost. Yeah. Well, he wouldn't take no for an answer. I said,
That's good.
I'll take you with me and we'll go, together. You go between my legs. But he said, no, I'm going to do this. I'm like, okay.
Good.
No is no,
Good for
no.
him.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the charcoal poultices too. The other day Sarah got stung by a wasp, and we put some charcoal on some, I don't know, it was like a cotton ball or something. No, how did we do that? Anyway, some gauze or something. We put it on there and kept it moist. Covered it. Yeah, covered it real good. And it sucked that juice out of there real fast. She
Yep.
was doing very well. I think it made a big difference, a quick difference. And if you have it on you, yeah, definitely do it, because it was hurting her for a long time, many hours, and then she put it on and it just was gone.
Mhm.
So
Was that up there? That's when you were here.
yeah.
That's when you were
Oh,
home,
no,
right?
not here, not here. Yeah, at home.
Okay.
So it makes a difference.
Yeah.
I love those pictures, but that still makes me nervous that that little man went down on myself.
I think
I
it's
mean, is it
cool.
very steep, or is it like a not a very steep hill?
Probably the
Well,
Bunny Hill.
yeah, we were on the bunny hill, but then we decided we go up. That's green. We decided we go up another green, and well, that lift took us about halfway up the mountain, and I was thinking the whole time, oh boy, because it's my first time on skis,
Oh,
and I straddle one of these guys between my legs, and she straddles the other one. So,
You didn't have
yeah,
your you had
well,
skis this time?
yeah,
It's usually a snowboard. Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it
Did you
was
enjoy it
it's pretty
too?
wild. What? Yeah, we did some
You,
tubing, but they did very well. We were holding them, but yeah, it's a quite a workout trying to do that. Going, it was not a green, it was like a blue. It was like it was really steep and really painful. And I said, I'm not doing that again. Uh-uh. So we stuck.
You should have him try a snowboard. When our
Yeah,
granddaughter got on a snowboard, she went nuts.
and that's
she
what,
went.
that's, and he was used to ride a snowboard all the time. This time he decided to do skis, so.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh
let me
yeah.
give you the phone number real quick, Barbara.
Okay.
It's 559
Mm-hmm.
321
Okay.
0883.
Okay.
And you tell them that it's Violet and it is, no, where'd it go? It is, where'd it go? Oh, it's room 315
Okay.
and it's bed A. She has two roommates, so she's in bed A.
Oh, wow.
315 and bed A.
Okay.
She'll be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She just likes to hear a voice and, know somebody called and,
Sure.
it just kind of breaks up the little morning and makes
Okay.
her know what she's thought of. And her birthday, if anybody's wondering, is I believe the 24th. She'll be 95.
Oh, wow.
So, yep. All right. Well, that's a cute. Oh, look at him.
Yeah.
Trying to scare grandma here, Look at him holding that little tiny thing. That little itty
I think
bitty
it's
man.
pretty cool that
Yeah,
they're skiing
that's
at that
great.
age.
I do too.
Well,
Well,
she
it is.
skis pretty
It's a big
well, so
by himself.
flies
That's
down there.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's great. That's when
Oh,
they get started.
he has no fear. He flies down their steep hill on his bike. The
Yeah.
other side back down with his friends, and I'm like, if somebody backed out somewhere, it scares me, but he has fun, so I just try not to watch him.
Always. Mhm.
Wild little man.
Yeah,
So you didn't put skis on Joshua? Little baby
Yeah.
skis?
Yeah.
I know. That's what these